Sox in the basement.
Well, it's official. It's going to be up for grabs in Evergreen Park on Thursday. If you listen to the last show, I did mention our connection with the Murphys of Abby Murphy, Team USA women's hockey fame, and she was really good in the game going into the gold medal game.
Yeah, she was.
She had an amazing snipe of a goal on the short side for the third goal of that game. I want to say the second goal of that game is set up. If you go back and watch the entire replay, not everybody has it, but she's got the puck down at her end and makes a sick pass through like 3 Swedish players right on the stick of one of her teammates, who then feeds in front of the net for the goal, one of the other Team USA members. And I'm sorry if I don't have everybody's name. I just focus on Abby because she's from the neighborhood, right? And so I'm kind of like, I just look for Abby Murphy highlights. And then she buried their goalie behind the goal.
Yeah, well, yeah, that helps.
And drew the ire of so many international fans on Twitter, which I think is hysterical whenever she does something, because people just overreact to everything that she does, because she's the Dennis Rodman, the AJ Pierzynski, she's a Kachuk. I mean, like, she's an instigator out there, and it's just so much fun. It's so South Side. And Thursday, I already know that pretty much every bar in Evergreen Park is showing this game. And I think they're shutting down here on the South Side in her neighborhood, where they've actually named her childhood street. They renamed it, Ed. Abbey Road. They had a whole ceremony. Yes, the street she grew up on has been renamed in Evergreen Park for that block. So that's how crazy they are here in the EP. All right. And so that'll be a thing coming up on Thursday. And the game, I think, is midday. So there is the possibility that I start partying with the neighbors and don't put a show together for Friday, and we're a day late. So the next episode of Sox in the Basement, while it would normally be on Friday, maybe Saturday, depending on what kind of ruckus erupts here in the neighborhood for the gold medal game. So I'm just giving a warning.
Right. An understandable ruckus, to be sure. So, and it's fine because we're in spring training and the storylines kind of trickle out, and nothing major is going to happen yet anyway.
What are you talking about, nothing major? There's a bidet. It's been 10 days of bidet coverage. Like, I did this funny thing today. I wanted to see, like, what are the big stories? Like, what if I Google and I use a couple different search engines, like if I Bing, like if I try a couple search engines and I just start writing down the categories of the stories that pop up. What are the biggest stories that are being covered by multiple press groups? Whether it be beat reporters, whether it be podcasters, whether it be bloggers, whether it be international press, whatever. What do I see the most of when I search up early spring training news? And shockingly, at least a week to a week and a half after it came out, the fact they're putting a bidet in for Murakami, the fact that we're going to use a little less toilet paper and a little bit more water in the bathroom of the clubhouse is garnering so much attention online, it's laughable at this point.
Yeah, well, and I mean, that's what I want to think about, how my favorite players wash their rear end after squeezing one out. But I mean, it's a thing. That's what I mean, the early part of spring training, I mean, really what we normally talk about is, this guy is throwing a little bit harder in his first bullpen, even though we know by the time he gets to games, he's going to back off of his velocity back a couple of miles. Or, this guy's got, he had great movement in his first thing, or this guy's turning heads or whatever. And what you want to hear is you like to hear stuff like, getting eyeballs on Murakami, his power is real, right? And that was Colson Montgomery kind of excited about having another thumper in the lineup and another slugger in there, or Anthony Kay sitting there going, no. This is real. This is real. You guys are going to see something because I faced him and he destroyed me.
Well, he makes me nervous. Like, I mean, here's the thing. It's clear that he has power. Like, I think I saw a broken bat home run the other day in a reel.
Yes, he did. He split one and it still went out.
And it still went out, right? I mean, that's crazy stuff, right? But
it's also Arizona.
I'm really worried it's like Pedro Serrano power, right? Like they're going to figure out which pitch he can't hit. And he's got a lot of swing and miss.
Well, it's the fastball.
Right. And so he's going to look really, really...
it's hard fastballs. That's
good in spring training against a lot of guys that aren't going to make it to the majors, because those guys are going to get the most time out there, right? Like, when you know your roster, your superstars they pitch maybe a couple of innings in spring training and that's it, right? Like if you're a 1 or a 2 on a Major League Baseball team and you already have a spot, you may get in a total of 6 innings the entirety of spring training because they're not wearing out your arm. They just want to make sure you see things and doing a lot of stuff on the side. So he's going to eat up the guys that aren't great. But what happens when the season starts and he's going up against the top talent? And that's the only thing that worries me because besides the bidet, Murakami is the story of spring training, at least right now. He showed up early. He's an international superstar. Shingo Takatsu, I don't know if when he walks in, there's a gong sound like the White Sox used to play when he would come in to close games, right? But I imagine it. I imagine that when he walks in, there's some sort of sound effect.
If you're Shingo, once that started happening for you, don't you try and make that happen everywhere you go? Like you walk into McDonald's, boom.
Like there should be a guy who walks behind him and just plays the button on his phone as he walks into a room. But the thing is, like, he's down there covering things. You have this huge contingent of Japanese media that's covering it. And remember, they share the facilities with the Dodgers, so they're already there for Ohtani. So you have this whole marketplace across the Pacific that is now like, oh, and we have Murakami. Like, and so there's so much coverage of the whole thing. And it's going to be, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be the thing that all the beat reporters, everybody covering the White Sox are going to glom onto, is that he just has incredible power. He's going to be the story of the whole spring training. And it scares the bejesus out of me because of the swing and miss. And because of the fact he's never been to the majors and the things that we've already read about, the drop off that you're going to get from a guy coming over from overseas to when he gets to the major leagues, because most of them have a drop off, unless of course they're Shohei Ohtani. I mean, like, and that's the thing. Most of them see some sort of, just like if you got a AA guy that goes to AAA or a AAA guy that goes to the majors, there's going to be some sort of drop off when him getting to the majors, and sometimes guys are exposed. And that's what scares me, because after the bidet, which actually has to do with Murakami, put it all together, he's the story of spring training right now.
Yeah, well, and there's overreaction to early reads on everything, right? And that's what spring training is good for,
Best
too.
shape of their life.
Yeah, Murakami hitting bombs against BP fastballs. It's going to be interesting to see, even against the scrubs, okay? To get back to your point about what scares you about Murakami, watching him against major league scrubs, because guys throw hard at every level now, right? You don't have a whole lot of AAA and AA pitchers who are going out there and are bringing it up there at 92, 93, and that's where they top off. Those don't tend to be even guys you really see a lot in spring training unless they're soft tossing lefties. You still get in spring training, you're still getting these prospects and these guys that are never going to amount to anything that are up there throwing 98 miles an hour, because we have one in the bullpen. His name is Jordan Hicks, and we traded for him. But you're getting also things like Andrew Benintendi saying, well, we've got Colson and we've got Murakami. We've got power in the lineup now. Now I don't have to go back and try and hit home runs the way I've been doing the past couple of years. When we were looking at this team last year going, they really, really need somebody besides Colson Montgomery and Andrew Benintendi and Lenyn Sosa to hit for power, because if Benintendi backs off, Lenyn Sosa doesn't play every day because there's no room for him in the lineup. And if Murakami turns out to be a guy that's going to have struggles, which is very, very likely, especially in the early going, I'm not saying he can't adapt or he won't adapt, but you can't expect him to come out and be Babe Ruth right away. And if Colson struggles a little bit, he's only in his sophomore season, and there is a sophomore slump that is very pronounced for a lot of guys who end up being very, very good major leaguers. There is a real chance that this team is not going to set off fireworks on the south side of Chicago for a long time. Jerry is going to save a lot of money on pyrotechnics this year if guys aren't trying to hit the ball out because they're relying on a guy who is coming off of a rookie year where he needed to get his head straight, and a guy who's coming over from Japan who hasn't faced major league pitching yet. And we already know that a lot of teams were scared off from signing him because they were concerned he's not going to adapt to major league pitching, in spite of the fact that Anthony Kay says, no, it's real, or in spite of what you see in the early going in the BP and all that stuff. But, in the meantime, sit back, enjoy the bidet, guys, get used to that creature comfort. And if that helps relax them, if the bidet helps them win some games, if the bidet has a war,
Scott Merkin wrote an article about how feeling fresher. I think that was I have to go back and find it, but he implied that if they feel fresher, they may win more games.
Yeah. the bidet might have a B war of like 2 or 3.
Listen, imagine waking up yourself truly refreshed for the first time in years. If you're battling morning headaches, afternoon slumps, or even managing diabetes, the answer might be hidden in your sleep. Hyatt Home Medical Equipment has helped thousands of neighbors across Chicagoland reclaim their energy from easy home sleep tests and finding that perfect fit mask for your CPAP machine. They're going to make the journey better, and they're going to get you to health simply and with excitement. I would be excited if I was sleeping a little bit better. Maybe I got to try that at-home test. Yeah. All right, get your energy back on track. Contact Hyatt at 708-422-2300 or visit hhme.com. I saw those comments from Benintendi, and they bothered me because for the exact thing that you just alluded to there. The idea that, well, we've got this slugger now, and look at Colson Montgomery with 21 second-half home runs after he got up here. Clearly, I don't need to swing for the fences anymore, making $15 million a year. And I got to say, Benny, I'm not happy with that idea because you're right. Lenny Sosa was one of your top home run contributors, and he doesn't have a spot in the everyday lineup. So you're erasing his home run total. I mean, here's a team that needed to add home runs. True. Okay. And then Benintendi and Sosa were two of the big home run hitters. Now, Sosa's not really going to be in the lineup. And Benintendi's like, I don't know if I need to swing for the fences anymore. What? So that's, I don't know. If I'm Chris Getz, I'm going to take a walk down there and be like, what did you say? Because we have you penciled in for this.
Right. Like, you're one of our primary designated hitters. We need 20 home runs out of you.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like you're already telling me that your Achilles is kind of an issue. And I'm already making plans by bringing in all these outfielders, right? And I'm trying to find a way to generate enough defense in the outfield that I can move you into a DH role from time to time. And I've spoken about it openly. And you're going to go do that and hit for less power? I mean, on the other hand, remember what he said last year, which was also ridiculous. Was it last year when he talked about he was eating more pasta so he'd hit more home runs? Maybe they shouldn't let Andrew Benintendi talk in front of microphones in spring training.
No, because he also lost weight this year to take more pressure off of his legs after eating more pasta to bulk up last year, so he'd have more strength. So, look, I'm glad Andrew Benintendi's on the team. I really don't have a problem with him being here in any way, shape, or form. But dude needs to get his story straight before he comes into spring training exactly what he wants to do and how the team wants him to do it.
Yeah, so, if you want to go around and just like watch over the last couple of years, Andrew Benintendi quotes him talking about, I'm eating more pasta to get bigger to hit home runs. I'm not eating that much pasta anymore. I'm not going to hit as many home runs. I mean, it's maddening to listen to. It's hysterical. I just don't want it to be something that hurts my team. That's all I care about. And I also don't have a negative view overall on what they're going to do. I know you just brought up like worst case scenario, right? Where all of a sudden there's no power. I think there'll be power. And I honestly believe that Colson Montgomery is the real deal. I feel like I'm going to get hurt by this, but I really do believe the guy's going to go out and hit 40 home runs this year. Maybe it's because I need it. I need it in my bones, right? Maybe it's just like I'm ready for that kind of output from a guy that this team brought in and developed. And I see that second half, but I really need to see that. And there's a lot of me that believes that we're going to get a lot of power out of him. And I do think Murakami is going to be a roller coaster this year. I think he could be one of those guys that in the first week, he hits like 4 home runs over the first 7 or 8 games. And you're like, oh, he's insane. And then they're going to have enough videotape on him. And a couple of teams are going to figure out how to pitch him. And the word's going to get around the league. And he's going to have a terrible May. And then you're going to see him come back and have a big summer. Like, I think that's the kind of player he's going to be. If I had to bet, that's where I would go with him. One guy that's really,
he's a rookie.
Yeah. One guy that's really interesting is Austin Hayes. And I love this thing that came out recently. Austin Hayes, he picked the White Sox over the Cardinals. This is coming out of St. Louis. Like, the Post-Dispatch has the whole story. Sounds like the Cardinals tried to get Austin Hayes. They really thought they were going to get him. There were comments from the front office about how they were in contact with him. People in St. Louis thought this guy was joining their outfield. He picked the White Sox. Now, my initial reaction is, that's amazing, because all I ever hear is that nobody wants to play for this team. And you really need to change the perception of who the White Sox are if you're going to get free agents, because if the Sox are offering $20 million, And that's funny to say because that's not going to happen very often when Jerry is the owner. And another team is offering $20 million. The other team's going to win because of what players think about the White Sox, which, by the way, they can't do that anymore. Remember they used to do those report cards? Like every year,
yes.
They put out the thing about what they hate about these different teams. And the MLBPA lost in court because they're slandering Major League Baseball teams by pointing out that they have like bad catering services and stuff like that. So they're not allowed to do it anymore. But there was a time where we were learning that they didn't like the White Sox. And so
there was reasons. There was a lot of reasons.
Yeah. And at first, and a lot of them all go back to the fact that Jerry's cheap because he's the one with the facilities and he's the one that's doing the cheap little nitpicky things that players notice that other organizations don't do. So at first, I'm excited to see that he picked the White Sox over the Cardinals. Then I see the reason in the Post-Dispatch. It's because he believes he'll be playing every day here for the White Sox and he wasn't getting those guarantees from the Cardinals. And I think it is true. I think he's going to be playing every day out there. In fact, if there's one outfielder, I'm sure, is running out there with his glove, I bet you Austin Hayes, if somebody said, who's going to play the most games at any outfield position this year, I would say Austin Hayes. Because I have no idea who else is playing in center field, and I don't believe Benintendi's playing there on a regular basis in left. So I think Austin Hayes he's the guy you're going to see running out there to the outfield more than anybody else this year.
Oh yeah. I mean, but without any hesitation or doubt, because right now your outfield is Hayes, Acuna, and a question mark, or Benintendi, right? And Benintendi, we know he's hurt. We know he was playing hurt all last year, and Achilles doesn't really go away. Chris Getz has already basically said he's not going to be out there all the time. So you've traded for Everson Pereira. You've traded for Tristan Peters. You've picked up guys that are now non-roster invitees that have the opportunity to come in and try and make this team. And then you've got guys still hanging around like Brooks Baldwin, okay, who has got an opportunity. And you could do a little shuffling. This is where Lenin Sosa comes back into play. You could do a little shuffling because Miguel Vargas has shown that he can play left field pretty decently. He did it with the Dodgers while he was getting, his time in over there. While he wasn't hitting for him, he was actually playing all over the field. So there is some positional versatility there where you could see, potentially an outfield come together that you're not expecting.
Oh, second half of the year, you could see something very, very different. Okay.
Well, second half of the year is I wouldn't even predict right now what the lineup looks like in the second half of the year because you have no idea who's going to fail on this team. You have no idea who's going to emerge on this team, and you have no idea who coming up. Are you going to see a Sam Antonacci come up and take over a position?
And if he does that, it's going to be because somebody else in the infield didn't work out. And exactly. it could be replacing Vargas. Because you could make moves to get him out of the third base position if Antonacci comes up. It could be to replace Mydroth. It could be because of an injury. There's a lot of different reasons why he comes up. Braden Montgomery comes up. Something's shifting in the outfield as well because they want him to come
lost a job in the outfield.
Right.
Exactly.
So I mean, that's the most interesting thing is that there's a couple of guys in Antonacci and Montgomery, and I know there's other names, but I mean, those are the two that really stick out. That could very well be here at some point during the season, and they are the fail-safes for the infield and the outfield for when somebody doesn't work out. That they are going to be able to slide in there then and hopefully grab that thing and hold on to it or contribute to the team. So that's going to be so interesting. Same thing with the pitchers, right? I mean, Noah Schultz, the word coming out of camp here essentially is that Noah Schultz was having a hard time throwing certain pitches because of injury. And he grew. He's 6'10" now.
Oh my God. Yeah.
He's still growing? That's crazy. Is he like the Elephant Man? Like he's going to be 7'2" in like a year? Like how is he still growing? But he's still growing. So
that's frightening. That is truly frightening.
He had to adjust to a growth spurt. So they're kind of like, I think I read that from James Vegan.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? He's still growing? So that could be what his issue is. So there's also some interesting things here with some of these younger pitchers that they're eventually going to get here and they're trying to work out a pitch, right? They're trying maybe there's a changeup that hasn't been working for somebody. I want to say that might be McDougal Or it might
David Sandlin. Sandlin is
yeah.
working with the kick change now that he didn't have with the Red Sox.
So there's all these little things that they're trying to, and if something takes, all of a sudden a guy who's on the cusp of making the team makes the team and shuffles somebody out. I'm still of the opinion that, sorry, Sean Burke and Jonathan Gannon. I just think that if things work out the way that,
they had their chance.
I think if things work out the way that it should work out with some of these younger guys, I don't see a rotation spot for you. I think you're in there, and if you suddenly become otherworldly in spring and have fixed your problems, and you're not putting a lot of guys on base like you did during the regular season, and then you're going to have to maintain that forever because that's the one thing with White Sox pitching. There's enough talent down there that is developing that if you, let's say, are good for about 3 months and then you have 2 bad months, you may not get another bad month. You'll be hashing out in AAA. Okay.
No. Well, when I say they had their chance, that's what I mean. I think they are absolutely in the mix to start the season in the rotation, both of them. But their chance to cement it was last year when Shane Smith took that brass ring and said that, and announced that he is a member of this rotation going forward. No one's questioning Shane Smith. I mean, maybe we should be, but we're not.
I'm not.
Because of the success he had last year. Even Davis Martin, right, was very solid last year.
He's a starter on this team. I think those two guys are absolute starters on this team. And I'm drinking the Eric Fetty Kool-Aid that you get him back with the guys that got the most out of him, and he's got his back up against the wall. I think he's a starter too. Those are my 3 starters that I feel for sure are starting on this team.
Yeah, but Burke and Cannon and some of these guys that have been here and had the opportunity, they're going to have to not only show that, like you said, that they've made a change, that they're not going to put guys on base, that they're going to get guys out, that they can go deeper into ball games, but they're going to have to hang on to it because you don't have Schultz and Smith and McDougal and Sandlin and all these guys, all this talent that's at the minor league level waiting there. You don't have Drew Thorpe in the wings, when he comes back from being injured.
Right, and he's slow in his recovery. He's already had a setback.
He really is.
He's already had a setback. Like he's not at the place where they wanted him to be. He's got a little soreness, and now you're going to have a couple of weeks where he's not going to be doing what they wanted him to do. And that sucks because when he showed up, and he's the one that you really get in that Dylan Cease trade. When he showed up, I was like, oh, this guy's a gamer. Goes out there and takes the mound with authority. You could see the potential. Then he ends up with Tommy John, and he's behind. I think you'd be happy if you got him by July 1st at this point. Because he's not ready.
No, but that's where, if you are a guy as a Burke or a Cannon or an Anthony Kay, even, and to a certain degree, even Martin and Smith, if you find yourself having, a good April, a good May, and then things start to fall apart in June, and now suddenly we're getting into July and Thorpe is ready. And Smith and Schultz have figured some things out, even if their numbers don't look good because Charlotte's a bandbox and nobody's numbers look great down there. But if what the White Sox are looking for them to do and where they are in terms of their physical development, where they are in terms of how they handle their pitches, whether or not they're throwing strikes, all the metrics that Bannister's looking at, if those guys are ready and you've scuffled and you've been putting guys on base and you've been lasting 2 1/3 and your starts have been disasters, the replacement is going to be there. And that's what's glorious about a team that has built from the ground up is that if there is a guy that comes along and grabs something in spring and doesn't hold on to it, it can go away very easily because there's somebody behind him. And we didn't have that for a very long time as a White Sox organization because once, say, Yoan Moncada came up, that was it. That was your second baseman for a minute there, and then that was your third baseman, and nobody was putting pressure on him. Luis Robert Jr. comes up. That's your center fielder. No one's really putting pressure on him. I mean, Brooks Baldwin is going to be there as a backup, right? But you don't bring anybody in to work against him. Luis Angel Acuna, I'm going to keep screwing his name up.
You got that right.
Luis Angel Acuna, switch hitter or not, is in trouble if Everson Pereira comes in and has a great spring, and Acuna does not.
Right. Jared Klenick figures it out. There's a lot of names. There's probably about 4 or 5 guys all fighting for outfield spots. They are all capable of moving into center field, so there's nothing guaranteed. And that's awesome. That's how I like my spring trainings, especially with a team at this level. Sox in the Basement listeners trying to make the most of your money, give a call to Tom Walsh, your Edward Jones financial advisor. Located on the corner of 111th and Kedzie, but serving the Chicagoland area, Tom has a get-to-know-you approach and a do-the-right-thing attitude. He's been doing this for decades. It's all about knowing your options when you're investing and planning for your retirement. No matter what stage you are at, it costs nothing to check in with Tom. Give Tom Walsh, your Edward Jones financial advisor, a call today, 773-779-0023. Edward Jones, member SIPC. I got some notes sent to me by an insider around the stadium, and I'll have more in the next show because he's still finding out some of the stuff. Let me put the readers on here so I can read this off the text message. As we're sitting here and we're recording,
right,
I'm getting these notes. Some changes around the ballpark that he's already heard about. Okay, and I had these last year before anybody because of this guy. They're going to start putting the escalators on now at the end, so you don't have to take the ramps down if you don't want to. Escalators will go up and down, and after the 7th inning, they will switch all the escalators to just go down to help people get out of the ballpark. I think it's funny that it takes that many years to figure that out, but okay, cool, right?
Well, but for years, Jerry was convinced that if he didn't make it easy for you to leave, you'd stay. And now
we'll
that the team's getting interesting.
We'll trap them. Yeah. That's what we'll do. Okay, that bar and grill, the one that's along the ballpark on the outside with the exterior entrance, right? In the gift shop, we've been complaining about the in and out of it because you can go in there, then you have to leave, then you got to go use your ticket to walk in. It's been really confusing lately. I know the policy is changing. I don't have the exact one yet. So if it's not out by the next show, I'll have it for you. There's going to be water bottle refill stations now throughout the ballpark. That's another thing that they've added in. So those are the few things that I have right now. And they'll be utilizing gate 6 is what I got as a note for more. That's the thing I got to get. I don't know.
That's the bidet gate. That's if you want. Yeah.
There'll be a bidet for using gate 6. That's not confirmed.
Yeah. That's unconfirmed. I'm just guessing.
Can you imagine bidets at the ballpark? Can you imagine bidets at the ballpark?
No.
During the time of the trough, right? Like, remember, can you imagine bidets at the ballpark during the time of the ballpark trough and the confusion that would go into the ballpark in the bathroom usage in the men's bathrooms?
I mean, the duality of mankind that is represented by having bidets on one side and a trough on the other is I mean, it's the yin yang symbol in yellow and brown right there.
That's the funniest thing about it because I've been to White Sox games in the old park and the new park, and I've been there on those nights when it's packed. Everybody's had a little bit too much to drink. It's a Friday or a Saturday night, and there's not enough toilets, and they're using the sinks and they're using the trash cans, right? Like women listening to the show, they may not realize how bad it gets in there. It's like Lord of the Flies. It's in there on certain nights. When it's packed.
Literally, the flies are in there by the end of the night.
Right, it's Lord of the Flies inside of that bathroom. Imagine adding bidets into that at the ballpark for the fans.
Well, that would have taken care of the water bottle thing too. So.
Oh yeah, confusing the water station with bidets.
Yeah,
and vice versa. Oh my God. Before we get out of here, quick note: Major League Baseball is going to be using that ABS system for balls and strikes. Right? We got the robot umpires. They're going to have an automated,
not entirely robot,
but they're going to have an automated ball strike challenge system. And what they're going to do is they're going to take away from the TV broadcast the thing that pops up and shows you where the ball crossed the strike zone. So the box is going to be there. This is from Jeff Agrest at the Chicago Sun-Times. The box will be there on your screen still, but you won't see the
little ball icon
where the ball went through anymore.
Right.
Or anything that indicates that was a strike or that was a ball. And I would imagine the play-by-play online, right, on MLB.com, if they don't delay it, I wonder if they're taking that away too. Because the reasoning is they don't want a team like, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the White Sox, anybody. They don't want them to be able to look at the TV broadcast, see that, and then challenge based on the TV broadcast if it was a ball or a strike.
No, although, I mean, if they're using Gamecast for that, there have been some times when Gamecast shows the ball as like in another stadium after the pitch is thrown, and you're like, well, that probably didn't happen.
And on the flip side, when Carlos Rodon was here, his wife Ashley would tweet immediately when her husband was denied a pitch using MLB.com, which is always
she was the original ABS system. Was Ashley Ashley Rodon was she made darn sure you knew exactly what the balls and strikes were.
She immediately took a screenshot and put it out on social media like, well, they screwed Carlos out of that one. So that was always amazing. Here's my problem. I see Major League Baseball doing this and I think to myself, you have a pitch clock. How much time really is there from the moment that they see a broadcast, which is delayed? That's why the radio doesn't match up with the TV, because there's already a broadcast delay. There's already a delay on the TV broadcast. So with that delay in there, then somebody's seeing it in the dugout, and there's no real TVs in the dugout. So let's say they're in the clubhouse, and then somebody has to ring or run to the manager and say, like, challenge that. Do they really have the time? What I think they're doing is, I don't think the system's perfect. And I think they know the system's going to get exposed if you at home can see the system screw up. So they don't want to show it in real time. Because imagine the first time that you're watching a game and that little box is there. And all it really does, the ball just has to get in the zone in some part. Okay, it doesn't need to be 50% or more in the zone. It doesn't have to be completely in the zone. It just has to get in there in some part. And you on your screen, you can see their own system saying that it was a strike. And on a challenge, it still says it's a ball. Imagine the outrage that the system doesn't work. And I don't think they want to roll out a system where that's going to happen. And that's why they're taking it away. That's my conspiracy theory. And I don't think it's very tinfoil hat.
No, because so what? The teams get to use, they get to see it in real time right now. I mean, you can't tell me that they're not on the replay calls, that somebody's not in the clubhouse ringing up and sitting there going like, nah, look, it looked like you tagged them. They're showing replays on the broadcast right now. They're showing replays from the truck. It's not that, but I do think you're right. I think Gamecast is going to show one thing. I think the broadcasts are going to show something else, and that's going to depend on who's broadcasting the game. It probably shows up a little bit different between the home and the away feeds, and you're going to have all of these different things showing it, and on a pitch that's really a clutch key pitch in a game, when you have 4 different outcomes potentially because it's 4 different ways on 4 different screens, the whole balls and strikes calling the replay on it is going to be just an absolute disaster. Besides, I still want to live in a world where I read the story the other day about Andre Dawson, and I knew it, where a guy like Andre Dawson gets fined for yelling at Country Joe West about a ball and a strike after he gets run out of a game, and he sends the check into the Major League Baseball front office with a memo line, donation for the blind. That's the baseball I want to live in.
Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on soxinthebasement.com.